The old Ford Fiesta ST will go down as one of the best fast Fords ever. Praise was unanimous for it. In fact, I've got a quote here. The ST is the best of the bunch when it comes to pure enjoyment, with excellent grip and engaging, accurate steering. It is a joy to drive enthusiastically. It goes on to say, the Ford Fiesta ST is one of the best hot hatches ever. Not my words, but the words of Carbuyer.co.uk. The only downside to the car was a slightly firm ride, an interior that felt just a little bit too cheap.
This may look like the old Fiesta ST, but it isn't. It's the all-new one. It's naturally based on the latest 7th generation Fiesta, and just like the old ST, there's a sporty makeover that's not too in your face. So there's a mesh grille, fat alloys, side skirts, a spoiler, and the obligatory 2-pipe exhaust.
So good was the old Fiesta ST, Ford knew they had to get the new one right, so they handed over the monumental task of replacing it to Ford Performance. That's Ford's sporting division that created the Focus RS. So as you'd expect, there's more power, the suspension has been changed, the ride is softer, and the interior is better made. Best car Ford of Europe makes, apparently. But you and I will be the judge of that, won't we? Now, inside, Ford can feel a little bit smug about the interior quality because it is a big improvement on the old car. But of course, the ST would be an improvement on the old ST because it's based on the current generation Fiesta. And that car is a big improvement on the old Ford Fiesta, isn't it? So there's lots of nice soft touch plastics dotted around the place, and all the dials and controls feel very well screwed together. Now, every single car comes with a touchscreen. It uses Ford's Sync 3 system. It's not the best system in the world to use, but it is more than good enough. And there we go, Radio 4 has popped on. Go away, thank you very much. Now, storage is pretty good. There's a couple of cup holders down here. There's a space to put the key, which is quite nice. There's a place down there to put your mobile phone, USB charging port. The glove box is of a very good size for a Super Mini, actually. And the door bins, even though they don't look that big, can easily swallow up a large water bottle. We've also got a little cubby under the armrest with a little removable tray, and down there is another USB charging port, which is very nice. Now, let's hop into the back seats. It's very straightforward. Just tug on the lever, slide it forwards, and just like the 3-door Fiesta, there is quite a bit of room back here. I'm just over 5'10", and headroom is fine. If you're over 6 foot, you're probably going to struggle just a little bit. But if I hop over to this side, and this passenger seat is set up in the same position as the driver's seat, and I've got a decent amount of knee room as well. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning with this car is that for a further £650, you can have a 5-door version. Now, on the old Fiesta ST, the 5-door version came out just as the car was being discontinued, so that's quite a rare thing. But this one is available as a 5-door from launch as well. Let's hop round the boot. Round here, and surprise, surprise, it's the same as the standard Ford Fiesta. So there's 275 litres on offer, which means the Fiesta's boot is a bit smaller than the Polo GTI and the Renault Sport Clio, but it's still of a very good size. Let me grab the Carbuyer large suitcase. We haven't got all of the suitcases here because it's still quite a small boot, but there we go. Still a very large suitcase to put in. If you need a little bit more space, you just drop the back seats down and they fold forwards. They don't fold all the way down, but for a Super Mini, it is good enough. And if you do want a little bit extra practicality, you can spend £75 and have an adjustable boot floor. This particular car doesn't have it, but like I say, it only costs £75. Now, on this particular car, this ST3 model, we haven't got any underfloor storage whatsoever because it's full of a Bang & Olufsen subwoofer.
There are 3 flavours of ST, helpfully called 1, 2 and 3. ST1 gets a 6.5-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, Recaro seats in fabric, 17-inch wheels, cruise control and lane keep assist. ST2 bungs in the same alloys but this time with a machined finish, climate control, privacy glass and an 8-inch screen with B&O speakers, while this ST3 adds these smarter 18-inch wheels, red brake calipers, part leather and Alcantara Recaro seats, which are also heated, as is the steering wheel, a reversing camera and sat-nav. That's enough of the practical side of things. Let's see if Ford has been telling the truth. Is it more fun and more comfortable to drive?
Well, before I tell you, let's talk about the engine, shall we? Now, gone is the old car's 1.6 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and it's been replaced by a downsized 1.5. It still packs 197 brake horsepower though, and 290 newton meters of torque. There's also an overboost function to give an extra 20 newton meters of torque. But that's not the big news. The big news is the fact that this 1.5 is a 3-cylinder, and it can even run on 2 cylinders to save fuel.
At less than 50% throttle and between 1200 and 4500 RPM, one cylinder is shut off, improving fuel consumption by 6%. You can barely feel the switch from 3 to 2 cylinders either, you can only hear it. While it sounds as though the ST has gone all environmentally friendly, it'll still crack 0 to 62 miles an hour in 6.5 seconds, which is 0.4 seconds faster than the old ST, and it'll top out at 144 miles an hour. Ford also claims a very reasonable 47.1 mpg.
Now, behind the wheel, the ST just feels so light and nimble. The front end just feels so grippy, and it means that you can just bung this thing into corners. And if you want to trim your line, all you've got to do is dab on the brakes or lift off the throttle, and whee! The back end just slides round so neatly. It's a real class act, is the Fiesta ST. So the engine is big news on the ST, and the second are driving modes. Now, the Ford Focus RS was the first fast Ford to get driving modes, and so too is the ST. The ST follows its bigger brother, and it means that when you prod the button down here, we can go from normal into sport, and sport just sharpens up the throttle and the steering wheel, and it also adds a bit more sort of orchestrated noise and a few pops and bangs from the exhaust. Or we can go full bore and we can go into racetrack mode, and when you press it, it comes up with a warning saying you must only use this on a racetrack. It's a bit severe, but anyway, we are on a track, so it's absolutely fine. But when you do that, it turns the traction control off and the ESP. It actually puts the ESP into wide slip mode. So it means that you can throw this thing into corners, and it allows you a little bit of slide, a little bit of slip before everything is gathered neatly up.
And it really is lovely. Nothing else like it. It's proper engineering. There's a totally new steering rack, while at the back there's a new stiff twist beam torsion bar. Both are the most extreme parts of their type ever fitted to a performance Ford. The steering is also 14% faster than the old Fiesta ST, and the gearbox is so precise and an absolute joy to use.
And the third big thing on the ST, I hope you're keeping count, is the suspension. Now, on the old ST, it would shake all your organs clean out of their mountings, but Ford Performance has tried to fix that. So they've fitted the new ST with something called Ride Control 1 valving. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But essentially it means that when you're really attacking corners very hard, the damping is stiffened up. But when you're just cruising along like we are at the moment, the damping is slackened off. It's pretty clever stuff. Torque vectoring springs have also been fitted to give a sharper turn in, and all of this means that this is a pretty clever sub £20,000 car.
There's no doubt about it, Ford has made the ST more comfortable, but don't think it's gone all soft. It's still stiff. Hit a camber in the road and the ST has a tendency to veer and bounce all over the place.
The fourth and final big thing on the Fiesta ST is the limited slip differential. Now, a Fiesta has never been fitted with one before, but the new ST has one. Now, if you don't know what an LSD is, essentially it puts power to the wheel that has the most grip. So in a front-wheel drive car, it can virtually eradicate understeer. This one is a Quaife LSD, and I have to say it works brilliantly. Now, if you want the LSD, you're going to have to go for the £850 performance pack. Now, along with the LSD, Ford also throws in shift lights for the dash and launch control. Launch control in a Ford Fiesta. whatever next?
It means that you can really feel the diff and the torque vectoring working to deliver the very best cornering response. Press on even harder and you can feel the ST cocking a rear wheel, and those frequency selective dampers stiffen up the car so the ST corners as sweetly as possible.
Bad things? Well, there are a few actually, but they're not biggies. The first one is the drive mode switch down here. Now it's buried on the center console, and it means that if you want to use it, you have to take your eyes off the road momentarily. It would be nice if it were on the steering wheel, for example. The second thing is the ST doesn't feel quite as agile as the old car. Now, I put that down to the steering. Now, the steering is best in class, no question of it. But if you're the owner of an old Fiesta ST and you get in this one, you'll notice that there's a slight slackness to the steering just in the dead center. And it's also very quick to south center, which can be a little bit annoying when you're attacking a country road.
Has Ford improved it? Does all of these changes take away from some of the fun? Well, hardcore ST fans will say yes, crying out that the previous ST was slightly more focused, agile and had a stronger engine. But others will enjoy the suspension improvements, plus the more tactile and much improved interior. For us, we'd probably fall into the first camp, but the ST earns its place right at the top of the class, especially considering its price. Just like the old ST, the price tag is laughably low. The 18995 ST1 is a true bargain and shames new rivals like the 17995 Suzuki Swift Sport and the 18995 Vauxhall Corsa GSI. Go for the ST1, stick on the £850 performance pack, and you won't regret it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel by pressing the Carbuyer logo. Click the video windows for a review of one of the ST's biggest rivals and for our Hot Hatchbacks playlist. Thanks for watching.